Hello, my name is Ashley Herrera and welcome to my virtual library. My virtual library was completed on Google Books. This was my first time using Google Books and my first time creating a library, and I really enjoyed it. I'm starting to convert a lot of my work and homework and assignments and projects and everything are really becoming a lot more Google based, and I really don't mind it because I really liked creating this virtual library with Google Books. I thought it was awesome. It was super simple and it was a very easy way to keep track of all my books and put them into their own categories, and I really enjoyed it. So let's jump in. My virtual library consists of contemporary realistic fiction, diverse populations, fantasies, graphic novels, historical fiction, informational slash bibliography, poetry, science fiction, and traditional literature, slash folk tales. So beginning with some of my contemporary realistic fiction, we have books such as The Fault in Our Stars, Holes, for diverse populations, In Tango Makes Three, Amazing Grace, The Snowing Day. In Tango Makes Three, I actually was introduced through our WebEx, through our virtual discussions. I was introduced to In Tango Makes Three, and I have read it so many times since. I've read it to so many students since. I really enjoy this book for diverse populations. It's wonderful. Um, Fantasy, we have books such as The Twilight Saga, Harry Potter, even more simpler things, depending on the grade. The True Story of Three Little Pigs, The Giving Tree. So you, depending on the grade or the student you're working with, you can go to something a little more advanced, such as Harry Potter and Twilight, or something more simpler like The Giving Tree and The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. Graphic novels, we have Smile, which is a book I actually read a few years ago that I had to reread to kind of refresh my mind. Still love it, still a wonderful book. El Defo is also became one of my favorites, also a book that I was introduced to through our virtual discussions. Historical fictions, the 11/22/63 is actually one of my favorite books. I actually just converted it into a TV show a few years ago, and I actually just found it and started watching it. But I do actually prefer the book. It's about the murder of John F. Kennedy, and it's really interesting. I really like it. Informational bibliography. I really like the Harvesting Hope Cesar Chavez book. Great book. Really great for younger kids too. And the Almost Adulting I also chose to include in my virtual library because it is an informational book and it's really cute. My mom actually got it for me a few months ago, and I was like, really, Mom? Like, are you trying to tell me something? And it was great and it was super cute and I loved it. Poetry. We have a bunch of different poetry in here that I've read. Shel Silverstein. This was honestly one of the main reasons why I loved this assignment so much in doing our own self-selected books and our own virtual libraries, because we actually got to do things that we actually read. For example, in poetry, right here, this Adultolescence by Gabby Hanna. This is a book written by one of my favorite influencers, also known as a YouTuber. She's been my favorite for years. This was the first book she read, or she wrote, and it is just a bunch of her poetry that she's written over the years, and I thought that that was something really cool, and something really great that I got out of this assignment was that this was something that you would obviously not see on any kind of curriculum or any standard or anything like that. This was something that this is what I liked, this is what I read, this is what was from someone who, I admire, and she's a YouTuber and she created something great and different, and I got to include it in this assignment and I get to include it in my library and share it, and I think that that's so awesome. We also have science fiction down here, more Twilight, The Zero Stone, one of my favorite books also, and World War Z. And then traditional literature, we have Three Little Pigs, Very Hungry Caterpillar, Charlotte's Web, just to name a few of my favorites. So out of these genres and everything, I'd have to say my most favorite, I think my most favorite is probably between the poetry, because like I said, I got to include things that are really dear to my heart and close to me, and things that I read growing up and have continued to reread as an adult. So I love the poetry part of this. My least favorite was probably the graphic novels because I feel like that is like the least genre that I read and that I've experienced least with. So I feel like graphic novels my least favorite. Poetry probably my favorite, and I would also say diverse populations because just like A Snowy Day, Amazing Grace, those books are amazing. Those are books I would definitely include in my classroom. Those are books that I read growing up, that I've reread as an adult, that I've read to students, and it's just one of those books that the message stays the same and it's timeless and I love it. So I think that this assignment was really great. I feel like I got a lot out of it. I kind of figured out what my favorite genres were, what my least favorite genres were, and overall I had a really great experience and time completing this assignment. And I haven't realized really what kind of a hobby reading has become for me. I feel like once end a book, I want to begin a new one, and also reading to students and children has also really helped me expand my virtual library as well. So I hope everyone who watched this enjoyed, and thank you. I'll talk to you guys later.